What's up, house parties? Welcome back to your house and your group. We are pumped you're here, okay? Hopefully you find yourself in a place that is welcoming, comfortable, fun. Hopefully you've met some of the awesome leaders we have at Chaos. If it's your first time, we hope you immediately feel like you belong because you do. And we hope you immediately feel like you matter because you do. I hope there's just something about being in the house with these people that it's just different in a good way. Maybe you can't quite explain it, but there's something that just makes you want to be here or there. And that's our goal at Chaos, to make house parties places where you immediately feel welcome and safe, and you feel like, man, like this is my place. This is the kind of place we want to be. This is how we want to make people feel. This is the kind of community that we at Chaos want to be. So this month, we are talking all about community, about a group of people with something in common, moving in the same direction. And that's what we want to be at Chaos. We are a group of people who have something in common. Jesus, and we're moving in the same direction. We're trying to follow Jesus. And so we're talking about what it looks like to be a group of people who love and follow Jesus together, because the Bible has a ton to say about that. So we're talking about community because it's incredibly important. You and I were designed by God for relationships, for friendship, to be a part of a family. We are made to walk through this together, so we want to make sure we're walking together correctly. Last week we talked about the most important value of a godly community: love. A family kind of love for each other. Love is where it all begins. Love is what everything else is built off of. That we genuinely care for each other. That we put each other first. So we looked at how the Bible describes real, true love, and we talked about how we can live that out together. And hopefully this past week you found a way to show love to someone around you, to show them you care, show them you're for them. Okay, so with love established as the most important value, let's build off it tonight. Let's talk about another value of godly community. This week, we want to talk about vulnerability. Let me explain what I mean. Being vulnerable means being in a position, honestly, where other people can hurt you. It often means expressing the sides of yourself about which you have like the least confidence and not much certainty. It means allowing other people to respond to those parts of your life. And as we talk about it, we're talking about being open, being honest, and being willing to talk about the difficult parts of life. When I was in college, my basketball coach set up one-on-one meetings with us. In his words, it was to help us. It was a time for us to talk to him, to be real and honest and open, to share how we're feeling, to share wins, to share struggles and losses. But for me, basically it became a time where he would just ask me how my grades were, how my relationship with Jesus was, and even how my relationship with my girlfriend was. And I answered the questions all the same way. I said, "It's good," and that was it. And honestly, most of the time, that was a lie. I was struggling. But I refused to tell him. I refused to be vulnerable. I was super nervous about how he would respond. I was actually honest one time, and he proceeded to throw it back in my face in a practice, so I didn't trust him. I refused to be honest, to be real, and he didn't earn my trust for me to be honest. So because I didn't trust him, because I repeatedly lied, we missed out on the kind of community and relationship we're talking about this month. We didn't have authentic relationship at all because of that, I just missed out on so much growth. Vulnerability is difficult and honestly scary. I was terrified to share anything with that coach because I didn't think he really cared for me. I was terrified of what would happen if I actually opened up. And one of our greatest fears as human beings is being rejected and feeling alone. That scares us more than spiders or public speaking or watching a scary movie. I usually try to avoid acknowledging this fear at all because it makes me feel weak, embarrassed. It makes me feel insecure. It brings up the question that I don't like facing. Am I really liked? Am I really loved? Being vulnerable involves the possibility of rejection. So instead of embracing vulnerability, I often hide who I really am, or I reject other people before they can reject me. And that right there is why it's important that we have established the love foundation of godly community. If we love each other and truly care for each other, when someone is open and honest and vulnerable, they're met with love, grace, forgiveness, and support. So we need to do everything we can to make house parties and our small groups safe places where we love each other. And yeah, I hope that you're physically safe. Okay, that's true. But that's not what I mean. We have to create safe places where people know they are loved, where people can share. Because if our groups aren't safe places, nothing will go beyond shallow conversations with Jesus sprinkled on top. And we'll miss out on deep, meaningful growth. Because here's the thing. Real, authentic community can't be reached with a bunch of shallow convos where we just sprinkle Jesus on top. It requires genuineness. It requires us to be open and honest. And to do that is to be vulnerable. It's allowing others into our lives. And it's hard to open up. It's scary being vulnerable. But we want to be different here at Chaos. And I hope you find that when you do, you don't find rejection or judgment. You'll find a group of people who love you, who care about you, friends who will pray with you, encourage you, walk with you through what you're going through, because that is what godly community does. Sometimes vulnerability feels like weakness, but actually being authentic is a strength. An authentic person endures the risk of being vulnerable because that's how authentic relationships operate. They know it's the only way to real biblical community, so it's worth it. So, in order to grow and be the real community that God has intended us to have, we have to be real, authentic, and genuine. We have to be open and honest and vulnerable. But before we do that, we have to create a place that is safe enough to welcome that kind of vulnerability. So, what exactly does vulnerability in a community look like? I think it means that we're willing to admit when we mess up. We call that confession. And guess what? We all mess up. You're not alone. We're all in need of a Savior. His name is Jesus. So actually, it looks like a bunch of broken people admitting that they're actually broken. I think it means sharing when we're struggling. It means being willing to tell other people, hey, I need help. It means asking for help. It means being willing to let other people call you out when you need it. More on that next week. But we call that one accountability. It means letting people into your life, the deep, real parts of your life, not just the pretty parts. These things are huge parts of having real community. And don't get me wrong, they're difficult. They can be uncomfortable and low-key kind of scary, but it's worth it because nothing grows in a comfort zone. Nothing changes when we keep doing the same thing. That struggle, that sin, that hurt, it won't just disappear. We have to take steps, and only when we take a step out of what is easy and comfortable will we see growth and change in our lives. When I think about my coach and I, that relationship stunk, honestly. He didn't cultivate trust or really show he cared about me, and I refused to be honest and open. And in the end, we both missed out. We didn't get to have a real relationship and grow together. So at Chaos, we want to be a people who love and care for each other so much we can be open and honest and vulnerable, because those are the kinds of relationships we were made for.